Hey guys, and welcome back to the Moaning Yorkshireman, and welcome back to the Crawl Room once again. However, it's not quite Crawl Room time just yet, is it, I'm afraid to say. Got a few more months to wait until Formula 1 returns, but I thought what better way to end 2023 than with a little bit of a rant and with a little bit of a shout. So here we are then. It's finally time for the 5 worst drivers I feel were on the 2023 Formula 1 grid. Of course, 20 drivers this season are in the field, and realistically there were 10 drivers that I could put inside the top 5 perhaps, and there's certainly 10 drivers that could squeeze easily into the top 5 worst. But I'm going to go through the ones that did make the list with a couple of dishonourable mentions at the end as well. So yeah, strap yourself in because we will be going from 5 to 1. So 5 being the least worst of this list and 1 being the absolute worst. I don't think it's going to take much thinking about, is it? Not much head scratching at all really, to be honest with you. But without further ado, let's kick things off. So in 5th place we have gone for George of the Russell. What the hell was this season? Oh my god, what an absolute nightmare. What a nightmare for George this season. Unbelievable stuff. And he's been the master of his own demise on more than one occasion this season. George just lost his head, didn't it? It's unbelievable. After such a strong 2022 campaign, you think, right, get your head in the game now, George. You've got opportunity, you've got chance to do it again, excel again. The Mercedes car looking strong-ish, but then at times at race weekends, it just fell away. But that wasn't George's fault. The problems where George came in was just his inconsistency in qualifying and his overall just erraticness during races. You know, his moaning on the radio became quite consistent as well at times, wasn't it? And he just wasn't delivering the goods. He wasn't matching Hamilton, let alone beating him like he were last year. This year has just been diabolical really for George, and even he admitted himself at the end of the season it was like one of the worst seasons he's ever had in his career, because it was just all miss and no hits, was it? He ended the season with a podium, which was decent enough. He had another podium later on in the year as well, but compared to what Lewis Hamilton had done, as well as Lewis scoring a pole position as well, you know, George was really much in Lewis's shadow, and it was just the erraticness of it all. Singapore really sums it up, doesn't it? Hitting the wall on the last lap when he was in a podium place contention, and also he should have really won that race with the tyre compound he had. Hamilton wanted to get by him, but team orders said no, you stay behind George, and George should have won that race but didn't, and instead he was settling for 3rd place and then crashed on the last lap. And that one race just sums up how George's season has been this year. He's just had so many errors. There's too many to count actually, you know, and just lack of pace overall as well. It's been very, very disappointing. So yeah, he ended the season on a podium, so maybe he can take that momentum forward going into 2024. But he really does have to step up his game to even get to matching Lewis Hamilton now, doesn't he? Compared to last year where we were singing George's praises for beating Hamilton on numerous occasions, this year it's been like, oh yeah, well he kind of won him there. You know, George Russell's had an engine failure at Australia where he was running around in the podium places and beating and matching Hamilton for pace. But apart from that, the rest of it has all been his doing. So, yeah, there you go. So, George of the Russell is 5th on this list after what could only be described as a very disappointing season. 4th on this list, we come to Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. Now, yes, Valtteri Bottas certainly deserved to be here. In fact, both Alfa Romeo drivers deserved to be here, but I thought, no, let's put one in over the other, and the other one will be getting a dishonourable mention at the end there, so spoiler alerts. But yeah, Bottas this season once again. The Alfa Romeo, admittedly, it's not a front-running car. It's not going to be, you know, challenging for podiums. It's not going to be in the points all the time. But that car should be doing a lot more than it did do. You know, lucky to finish 9th in the standings. You know, if Haas's didn't have the so drastically bad tyre wear, they would have been 10th and last in the standings without a doubt. Did the car deserve to finish 9th? Absolutely not. I think that car was a 7th place runner this season, and I just think both drivers failed to get the best out of it. Bottas was just lacklustre and lazy at times. You know, times where you think the car should be minimum Q2 appearance, just does nothing in qualifying, out in Q1, compromises his race entirely, and then the Alfa Romeos are just incredibly anonymous, and they don't deserve to be down there. You know, I don't think that Alfa Romeo car is as bad as what it was made out to be this year, but I just think overall a total lack of ambition by the team, a total lack of ambition by the drivers. You know, aside from picking up an odd point here or there, that Alfa Romeo has been incredibly lacklustre, but it has mainly been down to the drivers. Admittedly as well, strategy has fallen flat as well. Like I say, I don't just hold the driver solely accountable for this, but I think the pace of that car was a lot more worthwhile than what it got in the end. I mean, just 16 points from 2 drivers. You know, Valtteri Bottas, an experienced driver, we saw what he was worth and what he was capable of at the start of 2022. Admittedly, Alfa Romeo got the early part of the new regulations right in 2022, but where was the fire in the belly from Bottas this year? There was nothing, and Hungary was the big turning point for me in terms of what those drivers were doing, because Hungary, the pair of them screwed up after strong qualifying performances. Guan Yu in 5th, Valtteri Bottas in 7th, a circuit that's incredibly difficult to overtake. All they have to do is just stay in position, maybe even lose a place or two, be extra cautious at the start. But a circuit that's difficult to overtake, points were all but guaranteed. What did they do? Zhou went harpooning it off at the start and causing absolute chaos and taking drivers out after he bogged down. And Valtteri Bottas just took the inside line and just braked and pretty much stopped and let everyone else through him. He was racing around with the likes of Alex Albon for the final points paying position, and it was just lazy. Albon was there. Bottas was like, oh, I'll have a look. Oh, no, I'm not going to bother. Oh, I'll have a look. No, I'm not going to bother. And there was just no fire in his belly at all. So, yeah, Valtteri Bottas this season has really disappointed me. The only reason why he is here over Zhou Guan Yu is because of the experience. You know, ultimately, Valtteri Bottas is there to be a team leader. And if he's not got no fire in his belly, then why should the rest of the team or his teammate have any? Yeah, very, very poor this season by Bottas. And I think that car was capable of 7th place in the Constructors. And no one's going to tell me otherwise. I don't think that car had the pace all season long, but I think there are opportunities there where big points were possible and the drivers let them down, particularly Bottas. So yeah, Valtteri Bottas, 4th on this list. In 3rd place, it had to be a podium position in the worst drivers this season for Logan Sargeant, and he's lucky he's not higher, to be honest, and the only reason he's not higher is because of the other 2 that I'm going to come to, and the fact he's a rookie. But yeah, Logan Sargeant this year has been disappointing at best, and you know, I don't know why he's retained that seat for next year. I really don't. I mean, fair enough, you know, to James Vowles and to the rest of the Williams squad for constantly encouraging him and boosting him and giving him that confidence, but he has just not delivered the goods. He's had 1 lucky point at the US Grand Prix, courtesy of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton's disqualification after the race. Without that, it'd have been a pointless season. And his best race this year was Bahrain, the first race. That was his best one. He was only a few seconds behind Alex, just got lapped on the final lap, and he was hunting down for what could have potentially been a points finish. You know, admittedly, Alex ended up 10th and he was 12th, but you know, there wasn't much between them that race. And then the rest of the season, it's been spins, it's been offs, it's just been lack of pace all season long. And we're not even talking about like, oh, it's okay to be a little bit off your teammate, you're a rookie. We're talking miles off the pace. The amount of times he's lined up 20th this season when Alex has been getting it into Q3 and Q2, high up in the Q2 session as well. It's just unacceptable at times. It really has. Even for a rookie, it has been unacceptable. So yeah, Logan Sargeant, I'm incredibly surprised he's survived for another season, and he really has to deliver the goods, because I think that if he doesn't deliver by the mid-season break into 2024, then he'll be out of here. I reckon Williams will replace him mid-season, because you know they're going to have a lot of pressure for him. They scored P7 in the Constructors this season with just Alex Albon. Next year, when AlphaTauri have got their partnership with Red Bull back together again, you've got Alfa Romeo looking to try and boost their stats and boost their scores, no doubt, behind the scenes. You've got Haas that, if they get on top of the tyre life, it is a quick car. They cannot afford to just be having one car scoring the points. You know, the Williams car, again, is by far a front runner. P7 was the best it was ever going to get in the championship standings this season, but life could have been made a hell of a lot easier if Logan Sargeant had delivered the goods. And that one lucky point made no difference whatsoever to Williams this season. It has all been about Alex Albon. So yeah, Logan Sargeant, you know, just an absolute shunt monster. And if he wasn't shunting, it was just general lack of pace. And sometimes it was a combination of all of those as well. Lack of pace in qualifying, poor pace in the race, having a crash, knocking a wing off. You know, just absolutely dog shit at times. And you know, for a rookie, I gave him more than enough opportunities on the Crawl Room Championship. But then at some point I had to say, no, enough's enough, and he had to join the disqualification pile. So yeah, for me personally, Logan Sargeant has been a big disappointment this season, especially after we didn't really expect much from him, admittedly as a rookie coming in from F2, but Bahrain showed promise. It really did. That was his best race this season. And then aside from maybe the odd race here or there where you think, oh, he's okay there, he's matching Alex sort of, you know, it's just been very, very lacklustre. And to be honest with you, I don't think Nicholas Latifi would have done any worse a job. In fact, Nicholas Latifi would have probably scored more points. That's all I'm going to say on that. No one ever thought that was going to be possible, did we? But yes, they've somehow managed to replace Nicholas Latifi for someone that is worse, if not at the very best, matching what Nicholas Latifi could do. And I would have gone for Latifi over Logan Sargent this season. I really would have done. And that says a lot. So yeah, for Logan Sargent, third on this list. Really, really disappointing season. Admittedly, he's a rookie, so he's not higher up for that. But 2024, he has got to step up. He's really got to deliver the goods, because if he doesn't, like I say, I could see him going as early as the summer break. And it would be deserved, because he does need to score the points now. The car is capable. Williams is a fantastic team that are on the up. And yeah, they really do. He really does need to deliver. But yeah, for now, Logan Sargent, a really bad season. Second place and runner-up on this list, it is, of course, Checo, Sergio Perez. What could be said? What could be said? The first few races of the season, everyone was like, okay, Checo, you know, fair enough. I still reckon Max is going to get this championship, but Sergio Perez is giving him a run for the money, you know, and then it all just went to pieces, didn't it? It all just went to pieces. Miami, where Verstappen had an issue with the car, out in Q2, quite low down the grid there. Sergio Perez on pole position, you think that's perfect opportunity for Checo just to walk off into the distance and run away with it, and it just didn't happen. Max Verstappen, with the mighty pace that the Red Bull had, unlocks the extra mile in that car and just managed to overtake Sergio Perez on pure pace after overtaking all those cars, 13, 14 cars ahead of him. Overtook them all, overtook for the race lead, and won the race. So that was already a dent in the armour for Sergio Perez at what should have been an easy victory, with Max Verstappen a distant second. It should have been that race. Then we come to Monaco, and he stuffs it into the wall in qualifying, down in 20th, only picks up a couple of points, and then it's just been Q2 exit after Q2 exit, Q1 exit at times as well, and then shunts and crashes and mistakes. And battling up until the penultimate round of the season with Lewis Hamilton for second place in the Drivers' Championship in a car that is just been sublime. You know, winning all bar one of the races this season as that Red Bull. And he's only got like 9 podiums compared to Max Verstappen's 21 of them out of 22 rounds. It's disgusting. So yeah, Sergio Perez, he had a great start. First 4 races, fantastic. And then Miami came, where it should have been advantage Checo by a mile. It didn't happen. Lost his head. Kept crashing. Kept making mistakes in qualifying. Then kept trying to overcompensate in the race as well by coming through the field, making contact with cars on his way through the field, damaging himself, and then also just being generally off the pace, you know. At a circuit where Verstappen's like 30 seconds up off the road, Sergio Perez would be finishing 5th, and you're like, what the hell has happened? So yeah, Sergio Perez 2024 I think will be his final season in that Red Bull team, come what may. They've got a lot of rookies waiting in the wings now. Yuki Tsunoda had a fantastic season last time out in 2023, of course. Liam Lawson in his standing races, delivering fantastic results for an AlphaTauri that was a really poor package at the time. Daniel Ricciardo, not sure what the hell's happening with him, but he's been fairly useless, but I'm sure Red Bull would probably give him the opportunity over others as well, because that's just Red Bull and Helmut Marko for you. Whoever's Helmut Marko's mates will get that Red Bull seat, but come what may, Sergio Perez next year just has to do the best job he can for himself, because I think the nail is already in the coffin for Sergio Perez. He's lucky to have the 2024 season, and I think 2024 will be his last season as well with Red Bull. So he just needs to get as many victories as he can, as many podiums as he can, and try and take that title fight to Max, because we need some excitement. Sergio Perez, you gave it us for the first 4 or 5 rounds, and then after that it was just very much chasing his tail to try and secure second in the Drivers' Championship with one of the best cars we've ever seen in Formula 1. Is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, Sergio Perez lost his head, found it again at the end, so let's hope for a better season next season, but we'll see. No one's expecting him to beat Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship, of course not. But it would be nice to see him try and rival him for more than just 3 or 4 races. So yeah, Sergio Perez, a really bad season. And last but by no means least, of course, in that number 1 position, in that prime spot, it is Lance Stroll. And it couldn't be anyone else, could it, this season? Could it not? Of course it couldn't. Of course it couldn't. What has this season been for Lance Stroll? His teammate picks up several podiums this season, Fernando Alonso in a much improved Aston Martin car. Lance Stroll picks up none at all, and you think, okay, no worries, that's okay, because at least you've scored loads and loads of points. Well, no, he hasn't really compared to what his teammates done. Some gap of 150 odd points in the standings in the end. Absolutely ridiculous. Lance Stroll only just inside the top 10 in the drivers' standings in the end of the season, whereas at one point, Fernando Alonso was second in the standings for quite some time and just tumbled away as Aston Martin lost their head in that weird phase after the summer break, but before the final races where they reverted back to their original package. But yeah, you know, all in all, Lance Stroll this season, he's just been a nightmare. He has been dangerous and a hazard at times as well. He really has been. The driving standards this season has been poor overall, up and down the field, it must be said. There's been some desperate moves, some desperate attempts from the likes of Bottas, from the likes of Sergio Perez, from the likes of Russell, everyone pretty much on this list, and the dishonourable mentions that I'll come to in a minute as well. But it's been this guy, Lance Stroll, that has been the desperate of them all. Silly, silly errors, and ridiculous as well. Not to mention, towards the end of this season, let's not forget, physically assaulted his physio at the end of the session after he got knocked out in Q1 once again. Shoved him. What happened to that? Well, the footage all just disappeared and we don't talk about it anymore. You know, it's okay to assault your members of staff that are trying to work for the same goal and get you faster just because you've thrown your toys out the pram. You know, being a bitch in commentary, been a bitch in the interviews. He's just been a miserable, moaning twat, and I wish he'd fuck off to tennis. It's just disgusting. It's disgraceful, the fact that he's given an opportunity, and yeah, born with a silver spoon up his ass. I'm not jealous about that at all. You know, many people are born like that way, you know, born into privilege. But to not even give a shit about what you were doing and to not even care, and then to start physically assaulting your members of staff, to start criticising the team, to start kicking off about everything else and moaning about everything, it's just not acceptable. I'm sorry, it just isn't. So yeah, Lance Stroll has been an absolute nightmare this season, an absolute hazard. The Singapore qualifying was disgusting, and thank God he didn't race because he was a danger to everyone that race. I mean, the car, you could just see he was overdriving the hell out of it. Like he almost didn't want to get out of Q1, and then he stuffed it into the wall like an absolute idiot. And he's just been crap. He really has. You know, he came in with 2 broken wrists, and you think, right, okay, well, he shouldn't really be doing the first race, but he is. And aside from nearly killing his teammate at the first couple of corners, making contact with him, he actually had a solid race considering he was breaking it. You know, he got 2 broken wrists bandaged up and quite a lot of pain. And he had a solid result there. He had a good result, so you think, oh, okay, not bad. And then as he healed, he started to get worse. You know, Miami, again, another piss-poor performance. Did Alonso finish on the podium there or just outside? You know, Lance Stroll down in 14th, 15th place. P nowhere once again. Absolutely disgusting. So, yeah, Lance Stroll, just lacklustre all season long. Poor performance, poor attitude is the main one as well, why he's first. Because albeit these drivers have been struggling and have been moaning at times and kicking off, no one's tried to physically assault their physio staff or just any members of the team. You know, it's just disgusting behaviour. So we don't accept it. I don't accept it. And you can always say, oh, it's passion, it's fire in his belly. No, he's not. He's just a fucking spoilt twat. You know, he's got a car that's always for him, and he just doesn't give a shit half the time. It's just disgusting. So, yeah, Lance Stroll, go fuck off to tennis somewhere, because at least we know we'll never see you again, because you've got to actually qualify properly and get through the heats and through the rounds to actually get to the places like Wimbledon or the US Open. So, yeah. Without that, then you won't be anywhere. Whereas this one, you can just buy your way into the pinnacle of motorsport, and he is the absolute pinnacle of that. He is the pinnacle of a paid driver, where Daddy's bought him a racing team, and he's not even grateful for it. So yeah, Lance Stroll, absolute idiot, bell end, fucking disgusting driver this season, disgusting person, and yeah, the attitude absolutely stinks. So yeah, take the results away from it all, and he's still just not proved himself to be a very nice guy, has he? Put the results in as well, and you think, well, fucking hell, there's no reason for him to ever be near a Formula 1 track ever again, let alone any form of motorsport either. So yeah, Lance Stroll, first on this list, by a country mile as well, it must be said, and probably will remain that way going into 2024 as well, but we'll see. And now it's time for just a few dishonourable mentions, of course. So the one that didn't quite make it on this list that should have done was Guan Yu. As mentioned already with Valtteri Bottas, both Alfa Romeo drivers have under-delivered this season compared to what they should have done. I think that car was a P7 championship point scorer, potentially. Hungary, where a big opportunity to score big points went missing because of both drivers, and shows just general lack of pace as well. If Valtteri Bottas just scrapes through into Q2, and I'm calling it disappointing, it's certainly disappointing that Guan Yu was out in Q1 so many times as well. That car could deliver more. Zhou didn't do it. Neither did Bottas. But yeah, I felt Bottas should deserve the place in the top 5, mainly because of his experience overall. But that doesn't mean Guan Yu doesn't escape a dishonourable mention. Another one on this list is Kevin Magnuson in the Haas. A very poor season by Haas's standards, not just for Kevin Magnuson, but as the team as a whole. But Kevin Magnuson this season, apart from Miami with a strong qualifying and a points finish, there's not really been much to sing or write home about, as they, fair enough, the car struggles with tyre life, and we get that. But after Nico Hülkenberg found his feet back in Formula 1 again after the first few rounds, he showed up, Kevin Magnuson, all season long from that point on, it must be said. Nico Hülkenberg having the impressive drives, having the drives like in Mexico where he clung on to dear life for that final points-paying position before ultimately he tumbled down the order with just a few laps to go because the Haas car had cried enough, which is just how it is. But where's Kevin Magnuson in all of this? Could he be up there trying to offer a little bit of support? No, he's down in like 18th, 19th place, pretty much last of the runners apart from Logan Sargent for most of the season. It's one thing to say, yeah, the tyre life's bad on the car, but where you see Hülkenberg placing that car is regularly inside the top 10. Regular Q2 visits as well by Nico Hülkenberg, rarely knocked out in Q1. But unfortunately, most of this season, Kevin Magnuson has been out in Q1 or on the tail end of the Q2 times in P14, P15, somewhere like that, and really just hasn't delivered the results. Okay, maybe more points weren't possible, but he only scored 3 compared to his teammates' 9. If he'd have scored the same amount of points as his teammate, they would have overruled Alfa Romeo and would have outscored them by 2. So that's what it's all about. Consistency is key. The car hasn't delivered. We know it hasn't. Kevin Magnuson has had a couple of moments of brilliance throughout the season, but when you've got a teammate alongside you that's had a couple of years out of full-time Formula 1 driving and hops back into the seat where he has, okay, an off 1 or 2 races, but for the most part then was regularly beating you, he's deep. Kevin Magnuson preferred the new spec Haas. Hülkenberg preferred the old spec Haas. It just kind of shows you that the drivers are totally on different pages with how they think the development should go for 2024. I think that's just going to cause more confusion than it's worth for Haas, to be honest with you. We're seeing which driver they pick. If it was me, I'd be picking Hülkenberg because Kevin Magnuson has really underdelivered the goods. I love him as a guy. I think he's a great character. But ultimately, Hülkenberg delivered more than what Kevin Magnuson did. And yeah, what a great shame. But yeah, Kevin Magnuson, a dishonourable mention. I don't think he deserved a place inside the top 5, mainly because of the poor pace of the Haas, and you never know what's quite going on with the car. But overall, it was beaten by Hülkenberg, and that's the main comparison that you have in Formula 1, your teammate. So yeah, Kevin Magnuson, another dishonourable mention. And the final dishonourable mention on this list, it is Esteban Ocon, Ocon. Now overall this season has been relatively solid for Ocon. The Alpine have been nowhere all season long, picking up 8th, 9th, 10th places. They've shared a podium each, the Alpine drivers as well, of course. But for the most part, both drivers have been incredibly miscellaneous. They've been obscure, and they have just been picking up the odd 1s and 2s points here. 6th in the Constructors was all they were ever going to get this season. It really was. They just had no pace for anyone else, but faster than the cars behind them. So middle of the road, P6 for them. Esteban Ocon has to get a dishonourable mention for the fact, though, that for some weird and wonderful reason, Alpine have put Esteban Ocon on this pedestal that means he is somehow greater than Pierre Gasly. And they have put strategies in place, procedures in place, pit stops in place, and overall just team orders on the radio, where Pierre Gasly has had a compromise race due to obeying those team orders, or following the pit strategy given to him. So Esteban Ocon is able to get ahead of him, and half of the time it hasn't worked out at all for him. Yeah, fair enough, they're fighting for nothing. The P6 in the Constructors comfortably. They're not going to get 5th. They're not going to drop down to 7th. But they need all the points they can get to prove to the sponsors and to prove to the team and get the telly time as well that, we're a good team and we're building, we're making progress. But as it was, they just favoured Esteban Ocon over the total of the rest of the team. just to favour him, and Pierre Gasly could have potentially scored more points had he not listened to the team orders, had he not had the bad pit stop strategy as well. Mexico was the key in that, was the cork in the bottle, really. You know, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, I think there was an Alfa Romeo and an Alfa Tauri as well, tangled up behind that pesky Nico Hülkenberg, fighting around in that 10th place. And the Alpines were told to hold position, but Pierre Gasly says, give me a go at Hülkenberg, I'll get him. No, you stay behind. You stay behind Esti Besti. You're not coming through. So yeah, Esteban Ocon this season, he's been given everything to him on a plate and being presented with a pedestal by the Alpine squad, which means he's clearly above everyone else in that team, including his teammate. And how did he reward him? With lacklustre results, I'm afraid to say. Yeah, okay, he bared the brunt of more unreliability compared to his teammate, but overall, you know, he was given more advantages and more opportunities this season to deliver some good results, while his teammate was being compromised in the background or fully visible to everyone with the team orders, and yet still failed to deliver the goods that were clearly set out for him. So be interesting to see what happens next season with the pairing. Of course, they've never been bosom chums anyway. Even before that pairing was announced, they've never been favourite flavours, but nonetheless, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes for next year, because I don't think Pierre Gasly ended his season too happy, really, with how the final few races of that season went, where, you know, Ocon was practically favoured over him, so and favoured over a team result as well. So there you have it. Esteban Ocon is another dishonourable mention. So there we have everything, guys. Those were my top 5 worst drivers of the 2023 Formula 1 season, with a couple of dishonourable mentions as well. Let me know down in the comments section below, who was your worst driver of the season? Who were your top 5, and which way would you rank them? Would any of the dishonourable mentions that I put in, would they include a spot inside your top 5 and maybe take someone else out? Would you have a different top 5 completely? Let me know as always in the comments below. Love chatting to you all. And yeah, as it's New Year's Eve that this video is going out, I'd just like to wish you all a very, very happy and merry 2024. I hope it's a cracking season and cracking year for you all, and I hope it is really exciting in terms of motorsport for everyone. I hope we can really sink us teeth into some exciting fights and battles. But most importantly, I hope you all just stay happy and healthy during the year. And it's a leap year as well, don't forget, so we've got an extra day this year to fuck everything up, I'm sure. But yeah, thank you all so much for your continued support this year. It really does mean a lot. Going forward into 2024, let's see what happens, shall we? But I'm really happy with where we are right now with the channel. And thanks as always go out to your guys for just your old love, support, and everything. It really does mean the world. I don't think I'll ever be able to fully tell you how much I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you all so much, everyone. Happy New Year. And I'll see you all in 2024. Much love!